I'm Vasant Dhar. I'm a professor of data science and business at NYU. My research is in artificial intelligence, and my core question really has to do with when we should trust AI-based machines with decision making. Because of the abundance of data in virtually all aspects of human activity, it's become possible for machines to learn automatically, learn useful things automatically that are usable or actionable. And this is a completely new development in that you now have a machine that is capable of learning from data and it's capable of evolving from data, right? So it learns to make decisions, it learns to evolve, it learns to improve itself, right? This is unprecedented in human history. And that really gives rise to a core question, which is, when should we trust them? The reason for that question is because machines also make mistakes. And when machines learn from data, they invariably make mistakes. It's a sort of a statistical phenomenon. And since they make mistakes, we have to ask ourselves, what are the consequences of those mistakes, right? Are we willing to live with the consequences of those mistakes? If the answer to that is yes, then we should trust the machine. If the answer to that is no, then it's an area of human decision making where you're not sufficiently confident in the decision making ability of the machine. Right? The mistakes can be too costly. So, for example, these days, driverless cars are in the news, but we don't trust them yet. Right? And we don't trust them yet because the consequences of mistakes can be very severe. Right? If a driverless car plows into a bunch of kids by mistake, that's a pretty high sort of cost of error. So that's one of the variables that mediates when we do or don't trust machines with decision making. Yeah, well, you're raising an interesting question, which is that when you learn from data, you can in theory, perpetuate the biases that exist in the data, right? So the example that you gave about, let's say, minorities being overly represented in a criminal database, for example, that might actually perpetuate an attitude that continues to discriminate discriminate on minorities, and that's a problem where there's a lot of attention being paid at the moment as to the inherent bias in data and how you can debias data or learn how to deal with that and overcome some of the inherent biases in data. But that's separate from the other question you raised around, let's say, surveillance and the Chinese government's intentions. And you said people are worried, and the question is, who's worried? Like, certainly the Chinese don't seem to be worried, right? To them, this is a huge opportunity for enhancing the capacity of the state and maintaining control, right? So to them, they're rubbing their hands, right? They're not worried at all. The people who are worried are more like the open democracies, where you have to worry about human rights and privacy and things like that, right? But the Chinese have the luxury of not having to worry about that. The good news is that someone else has already done the hard work, right? So a lot of the innovation in algorithms has occurred largely in North America, right? The kinds of algorithms that power self-driving cars have emerged from that research. But the interesting thing is that those are in the public domain, right? They make their way into the public domain very quickly, and so they essentially become a public good, right? So the rest of the world gets to benefit from the free availability of those kinds of algorithms. So the challenge then becomes, or the advantage then comes from data, not algorithms, right? So what I suggest in that article, in the editorial, is that what India really needs to be doing is focusing on creating a data infrastructure from which we can then extract knowledge for whatever purposes we want, right? Whether it's enhancing state capacity for law and order, whether it's education, whatever it is, right? Those are separate areas of endeavor where I argue that we should collect data because that's where the action really lies, right, in the data. The algorithms are a public good. Well, it certainly will take away certain kinds of jobs, not unlike previous waves of technology that have taken over jobs, right? So it'll definitely encroach on lots of things that are done by humans, especially in the areas of perception and dealing with unstructured data, right? Those have been areas where you need humans, right? If you need someone to read a piece of paper where it's handwritten, right? Machines have been unable to do that. They don't talk too well, and they aren't capable of listening well and getting the meaning of things, right? But they're becoming better at that. They're becoming better at perception. So they'll eliminate sort of the types of jobs that essentially just rely on that rely on perception. But essentially what they're likely to do is elevate the jobs that humans are required to do, right? So, it's not unlike thousands of years ago where if you knew how to count, you were educated, right? And everyone now knows how to count. So similarly, I think we'll get to that situation where they'll require more of humans. But there'll certainly be a lot of displacement as well, and the usual pain that comes when technology displaces human jobs. But at the same time, they'll create a lot of jobs too.